It was on a school field trip to the Glenbow Museum many years ago that Cheryl Foggo discovered her favorite cowboy, John Ware, was black.
It was like an explosion went off in my brain because we were so obsessed with cowboys, having lived our whole lives here and grown up, and that was what Calgary was all about. And so to find out that this great cowboy, and the person I've come to think of as the greatest cowboy that ever worked here, was a black man, was really astonishing. And it was a part of our history that I wish we had had access to sooner as well.
Today, the Calgary-born playwright and historian has made it her passion to contribute towards unlocking that history. A descendant of black pioneers who came to Canada in the early 1900s, Cheryl was not only interested in her family's history, but others as well.
It wasn't just a story of my family, that it was a story of a migration of a large group of people for a very specific reason. And I realized that I had never studied anything about that in school. In all my years in school, it was like this was a missing part of the history that I learned in school. So I think that's the thing that got me interested in the history to start with, is thinking that I would like to write about that so that there would be some resource for people who are curious about this migration to go to.
Cheryl's great-grandfathers were living in Oklahoma before it became a state. They were allowed to own property and vote.
When Oklahoma was formed into a state, they lost those freedoms. They were brutalized. Lynchings increased by quite a bit. And at exactly the same time, the Canadian government was advertising in American newspapers for farmers, people with farming skills, to come up to Alberta and Saskatchewan. They wanted people to homestead and break the land, so they were offering very, very cheap land. Really, it amounted to being almost free as long as people broke a certain amount, like tamed the land to the specifications of the government in a certain length of time. So that was why they ended up coming to this part of the world, Alberta and Saskatchewan. At that time, it was those two things that happened together, which to them meant it was their destiny.
She hopes that the provincial curriculum will include Black history and the stories of other groups in Canada that have not been explored.
So I think it is important to talk about Black history in Canada. And I'm talking about one tiny piece of every single province and territory in this country's Black history. Everywhere there's an amazing Black history story that people don't know about.